Hello everybody! Today we're going to be talking a little bit about the championship event in 2018 in Gillette, Wyoming. We're going to go over the ring setup, crating setup, and just some general info for the event. This will be a longer video, so if you're not interested in everything, there will be timestamps below this video so that if you'd like to skip to the area you are most interested in, you can do so below. We are just going to jump right in with the ring setup. Because of the increased interest in the event this year, at this point we are over 2/3 full and we still have 2 months of qualifying left, we decided to run 2 simultaneous rings. That way everyone could get out at a decent time. Now what that will look like is this, and we'll get to an external view of the ring so everyone has a better idea of what exactly they're looking at. But the pre-elite ring will be on the left and the elite ring will be on the right. And then there will be all of the normal gate chutes to get people in and out of the rings. The left here is going to go out to the parking lot, and the right here will go out to a dirt arena off the end of the building. And the bottom here is where the east pavilion is, which is where all the crating, vendor areas, and raffle will be located. All of the bleachers are roughly from this point and over, and this point to the left is just blank space. Each one of these rings is roughly 120 feet wide and about 120 feet tall, depending on how you're looking at it. That may or may not make sense. And we will have our scoring area set up in the center along with any video equipment or any other integral parts of the event. To see what this looks like from an overhead, this is an overhead view of the facility. This barn right here would be the central pavilion. And looking at it from here, this would be the parking lot side that we just mentioned. This right side would be the dirt arena that we just mentioned. Bleachers being here, and this area going down into the crating and vendor area. Now, we will not have dogs exiting into this parking lot unless they choose to do so. They will be able to come down into this area and occupy this space when they are entering and exiting the ring. Although I will expect a large number of dogs to exit via the parking lot because there will be more room there. For the elite ring, there is actually going to be a tent set up, a very large tent set up in this dirt arena that will be roughly 80 by 100 feet. This tent will serve as both the warm-up ring and also the outside staging area for the elite ring, excuse me. Ideally, the weather will hold out and everyone will be able to get to the staging area and warm-up ring via this pathway. If the weather does not hold out, there is also a pathway inside the building, although it is smaller, so it is not ideal. So this pathway will be the ideal way to get to this area. And that pretty much sums up the ring setup. Everything else will kind of make sense when you arrive, and there's not really a whole bunch we need to do in explaining here. We'll give you a short clip of what the inside of the ring looks like. This was actually taken during a horse event back in January, I believe. This would be about half of the bleacher setup, and the side that you are looking at right now is the right side of the building, as we've been discussing. We will pan over. This area will be roughly where the elite ring will be set up. Our scoring area about in this area, possibly a little more to the left. And then those panels will no longer be there, and our pre-elite ring will be over on this left side. And then you can see some of the other bleachers and that blank space that we mentioned earlier towards the left. We will just move on. Another shot of the bleachers for anyone interested. Not terribly exciting, so there's not a lot to see. Pretty standard bleacher fare. This is the outside of the building. This would be looking down towards the East Pavilion to give you an idea The shot was taken from roughly where you see these cars, looking directly down this edge of the building. This is obviously taken in the winter. It will be much nicer when we are there. So that is going down. This is the parking area. More than enough parking for everyone. And that is the RV, the main RV lot. So to give you a rough idea of how far you'll be walking if you're going from the crating area to the RVs is about that distance. It is pretty close in comparison to past years at other championship events, so it should not be a terrible issue for anyone. We would also encourage anyone at this time who would like to crate out of their RVs, since it is fairly close to the ring, instead of using a crating space or a group spot. If you would like to take that option, it's always appreciated, as crating space is currently extremely limited. At this point, it is actually non-existent, as every single spot filled up within the first 28 hours. So if we can open up those spots for someone who does not have the luxury of an RV, it would make someone's event much nicer. If that does not appear to happen by the time the event rolls around, we will come up with alternate plans for crating for all of the displaced entrants of the event. Speaking of crating, this is the main crating building. This would be the East Pavilion, which is this building on the map. This building is 120 feet wide by 350 feet long. Now, the first 100 feet of this building will be taken up by the vendors, raffle, and ribbon boards, and then the remaining 250 feet will be used for remaining crating. You can see a map of the current crating situation right here. These are not perfectly to scale. As I mentioned, the building is 120 wide and 350 long. So as you can see, these two handicap spaces are taking up 2 spots in this particular area, whereas a group crating is taking up 1. So a group crating is 20 feet on the vertical and 10 feet on the horizontal. So they are not quite to scale, but it is still accurate for the building size. From handicap 1 all the way down to B3 is 250 feet of used space. And from handicap 1 all the way to handicap 29 is 120 feet of used space. Currently, all of these spots, except for a select few handicap spots, are booked. So we will be trying to determine a way to open up more crating for future entrants. Another shot of the crating area. Again, nothing too exciting, as it is currently just an empty building being cleaned, so not a lot to see. And the crating area will reach all the way down to the far wall that you can currently see in the video, albeit slightly blurry. And this area that you can see over here is where all the vendors, ribbon area, and raffle boards will be located. Now, moving on. Any info that you would like about the event can be found at nadac.com/championships. It can be found by going to the NADAC website. I will zoom out here a little bit so it looks correct. Going to events and going to NADAC Championships. That will bring you to this page where it will have any updates. Entries have already opened, but it will also let you know when volunteer sign-ups, sponsor bar sign-ups, and team entries will open, as well as when second chance will open and close. Basically everything you would like to know. If you are bringing an RV to the event, you will need to fill out an RV reservation form and send it to Camplex directly, not to NADAC. All reservations for RVs are being handled by Camplex. If you are staying at a hotel, there is hotel info directly above the RV reservation form. If you would like to vend at championships, there's a vendor reservation form. If you are one of the few folks who would like to reserve the remaining handicap spots, you can go to the crating reservation form. And if you would like to enter either the pretrial or the main championship event, there are those 2 forms up above. The info sheet covers basically everything you would like to know between qualifications for elite and pre-elite, how the scoring system works, placements, which have changed this year as to in regards to how far out we place, also how many dogs are required to be in a group for that group to be considered standalone without being combined with other groups, info for the stakes classes, the scoring, walkthroughs and briefings, team info, second chance entries, and basically everything else you could possibly want to know about championships. And that pretty much sums up the entire event. We hope to see you there. It's definitely going to be a very full and very packed year. As I mentioned at the time of this recording, we are over 2/3 full with 2 months left in the qualifying period. So we do expect a very full event this year. So I would recommend getting your entries in sooner rather than later. In regards to the crating area, we will absolutely make sure that everyone entered has a reasonable amount of access to crating. Now, how that will happen at this point is undetermined, but it will happen. We are currently talking to the Camplex facility to ask about the possibility of this building, although we do not know the current condition or if it is even usable, as well if there is any areas in this building over here that could possibly be used as a extra crating area, as well as the possibility of bringing in another tent beyond the tent that will be placed here as one more area for crating. So regardless, there will be crating available if you enter the event. And just to give you another shot of the distance from the RV park to the facility, you can see it there. It is definitely not terribly far, quite reasonable. All right, everybody, I think that's going to do for this video. We hope to see you all at the event. Happy trialing. Good afternoon, everybody. We do have an update. This is going to be tagged on to the end of the Champs info video, as we did not know this until literally today, as we're just getting ready to publish the video. Because of the increased interest in the event and how quickly the crating spots did fill up, we were concerned at this point that we were not going to have enough room for everyone to crate, which did cause some issues. So because of this, what we are most likely going to do is bring in a 40 by 80 foot tent, and that will serve as a secondary crating area, which will most likely be positioned. We're still talking to the facility about where this can be. But it will most likely be in the parking lot off of the East Pavilion, probably somewhere in these spaces directly adjacent to the main doors right here. So with that, that should give us enough extra crating area along with some of the compacting that we've been doing in this area, that we should have more than enough room for everyone to fit. Now, basically what this means is when you go to sign up for Champs, you'll want to go into the crating area link, and which is right here on the website, crating reservation form. And you will want to click that, and you will want to be put on the waiting list. So there's a little note down here, and we are guaranteeing that if you sign up for championships and you are on the waiting list, you will absolutely have a crating spot. Now, you might not be assigned a spot until you arrive at the event, because we're still trying to compact everything and make everything work. And typically more spots open up a few days before the event starts than they do months before. So it is highly likely if you're on the waiting list, you will not be assigned a spot until the event starts, but we guarantee you will get a covered crating area. Now, you may have to share it with someone. If it's a 10 by 20, you may have to share it with a couple people, but again, we guarantee you will get one. So to do that, you will want to come down, click the waiting list button, put your name and email, and hit submit, and that will put you on the crating list, waiting list, and you will be guaranteed a spot. So if you were concerned about that, please do so in that way, and we will see you at the event.